If you watched my last episode, you know that just a week before Donald Trump's impeachment trial was set to begin, he parted way with 5 lawyers that he had retained. Now, these attorneys that he had retained were apparently referred to him by United States Senator Lindsey Graham in South Carolina, and they ended up parting ways abruptly right before the trial. Now, Donald Trump has assembled a new team. He's got 2 new lead attorneys. We're going to talk about these attorneys, see who they are, and I'm going to give you my opinion on the value that these attorneys may or may not bring. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm Joe Pometto, Joe the Lawyer, a practicing Pittsburgh criminal defense attorney. I also do some civil litigation. On this channel, we talk about legal news, breaking news, and politics. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Really looking for subscriptions right now, trying to get to 1,000 so I can monetize the channel. So that is the easiest and freest way to support my show. Just boom, hit that subscribe button for me. Easy peasy. Okay, so we're going to take a look at an article. It's a Washington Post article. I know people have opinions on the Washington Post one way or another. One thing about this show is I try to be independent at least as much as I can in doing analysis, although my opinions are going to come out one way or another. But the reason I chose this Washington Post article is, well, it just has all the juicy information. So we're going to run through this article and then I'm going to let you know my opinion. So the article, the title says, with impeachment trial looming, Trump taps new lawyers who drew spotlight in past work. One lawyer has touted the number of accused mobsters who dot his client list and described his jailhouse visit with accused child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein during a spot on Fox News. The other built a reputation as an imposing county prosecutor who put murderers behind bars, only to come under the spotlight after he declined to prosecute comedian Bill Cosby on charges that he drugged and sexually assaulted a Temple University athletics official. Now, the duo of Atlanta-based attorney David Schoen and Pennsylvania lawyer Bruce L. Castor Jr. are taking over former President Donald Trump's legal effort just a week before his Senate trial for allegedly inciting an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. And shout out here, I'm a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm a Pennsylvania licensed attorney. This Bruce Castor, who I never heard of before, he's a prosecutor from Montgomery County, which is out east. I'm out west in Pennsylvania. We practice in the same state, for what that's worth. These two replace a group of low-key respected South Carolina practitioners who bowed out of representing the former president just before the first filing on Trump's behalf is due Tuesday. In announcing Schoen and Castor's hiring on Sunday, Trump's office said the 2 men were chosen because of their national profiles and significant trial experience in high-profile cases. With Schoen and Castor, Trump, who has long been more consumed with his lawyers' television appearances than their legal bona fides, gains 2 solo practitioners who are not shy about public attention, even if they are not leading constitutional scholars. Castor is the cousin of Steve Castor, the House Minority Counsel who gained prominence during Trump's first impeachment trial. And Steve Castor played a role in his cousin's hiring, according to a person familiar with the decision who, like others interviewed for this report, spoke on the condition of anonymity. Trump's legal team had been impressed with Steve Castor's performance during the televised impeachment hearings, and he was part of the discussions to find new counsel after the previous team parted ways with the president, the anonymous source said. Schoen told the Washington Post that he was asked by Trump to join the team about 2 weeks ago. He believes at the recommendation of longtime Trump advisor Roger Stone, whom he briefly represented. He said he had talked with Trump once before when he called to thank him for commuting the sentence for Stone. When Trump called, he recognized his voice right away. The 2 lawyers took over Trump's defense after the former president had been pressed by his former team, led by South Carolina attorney Carl S. Butch Bowers, Jr., to argue that the election had been stolen from him through extensive fraud, according to people familiar with the situation. The Bowers team had planned to argue that the Constitution does not allow for the conviction of a president after he has left office, an argument designed to appeal to the Senate Republicans who do not wish to convict Trump, but also do not want to appear to condone his claims about the election. Trump spokesman Jason Miller disputed that the former president wanted to focus on election fraud in the Senate trial and said that his split with his former lawyers was mutual. Schoen told the Post on Monday that he does not plan to make election fraud a part of his defense and also denied that the South Carolina lawyers left the case over the issue. Castor did not respond to requests for comment. Trump has had trouble attracting top-flight legal talent to his personal defense through the multiple rounds of criminal and congressional investigations that marked his 4 years in office. Although it's traditionally considered an honor to represent a U.S. president, particularly in a fight with Congress that poses novel constitutional issues, lawyers who have turned down the opportunity to work for Trump have said he makes for an unappealing client. He has trouble following legal advice. He's most concerned with how his lawyers perform on television, and he is known for not paying his bills, they have said. Schoen told the Post that he believes the impeachment trial raises important constitutional questions, and he feels honored to represent the President of the United States and the Constitution. An Atlanta-based civil rights and criminal defense attorney, Schoen previously represented Roger Stone when he appealed his 2019 conviction for obstruction, witness tampering, and lying to Congress in its investigation of Russian interference in the 2016 election. Schoen told the Atlanta Jewish Times in September that he took on Stone's case because he believed it was very unfair and politicized. Trump pardoned Stone in December before he began serving his prison sentence. In a text message Monday, Stone called Schoen one of the most brilliant attorneys I've ever met, saying he understands both the law and politics and why both are important in a matter like impeachment. I have to say, that's for sure. Impeachment is a mixture of law and politics. Schoen also appeared in a docudrama on the Discovery Channel, as well as on Fox News, to describe meeting with Epstein in jail 9 days before Epstein was found dead in his cell while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. In interviews, Schoen has said that he and Epstein met for 5 hours and that he found Epstein upbeat, causing him to question authorities' conclusion that he died by suicide. In one interview, Schoen said Epstein asked him to take over and quarterback his legal team during the meeting. Epstein's longtime lawyer, Martin Weinberg, said Epstein met with Schoen shortly before his death and discussed having him handle some legal matters, but he was not aware that Schoen was under consideration to join Epstein's trial team. Well, I guess we're never going to know on that one. Schoen disputed that Monday, saying he had been meeting with Epstein for a long time. I was being hired not just to join the team, but to take over the team, he said. Okay, who cares? Schoen considers himself primarily a civil rights attorney. He has sought new trials for people convicted of the death penalty, sued over police misconduct, and represented emotionally troubled children in a case arguing their rights were violated by Alabama's foster care system. Among past clientele, Schoen have been all sorts of reputed mobster figures. Okay, and this adds this adds maybe a little juice to this guy, right? A little drama sometimes makes a character more interesting. Anyway, one former client, according to court documents, is Boris Nayfeld, a former Belarusian Russian mob boss who served 3 stints in prison for various crimes, including laundering drug money as part of an international heroin ring. Nayfeld, who is currently living in Russia and publishing a book about his experiences, that's probably one heck of a book, said via text message Monday that Schoen was a young guy trying to make a name for himself when he handled his case, but that he found Schoen to be a good negotiator with lots of ties to judges and influential people. You know what they say, a good lawyer knows the law, a great lawyer knows the judge. Schoen said Monday night that Nayfeld overstated his reach, adding, I didn't have those connections. Schoen also represented Michael Sessa, a captain in the Colombo crime family, after he was convicted of racketeering and murder in 1992. One of the prosecutors who won the conviction was Andrew Weissman, who nearly 30 years later would serve as a member of special counsel Robert S. Mueller's team investigating Trump. Schoen said Monday he objected to how Weissman handled the Sessa case. So a lot of different connections and networks going on here, right? The United States is a big country. The network of top flight lawyers is not necessarily that big. The pick of Castor came as a surprise to many in Pennsylvania's legal and political circles, who said the longtime prosecutor and politician has a history of fraught relationships, even with those in the Republican Party. Bruce Castor made a 2004 run against Tom Corbett for the GOP nomination for Pennsylvania Attorney General. Despite Corbett's strong backing from state party leaders, a move that alienated many state Republicans. Corbett defeated Castor soundly and went on to win the office. Castor eventually went on to serve as the number 2 for State Attorney General Kathleen Kane, who was forced to resign in 2016 after being convicted of perjury and obstruction of justice. I know who Kathleen Kane is because she ran so many freaking commercials. That image of her in a courtroom has been drilled into my head. At the time, Republicans who controlled the state legislature backed Democratic Governor Tom Wolf's pick to replace her rather than Castor. That's honestly one of the first things that came to mind for me. Who the hell vouched for Bruce Castor? Said Adam Bonin, a Philadelphia-based election lawyer for Democrats. And before we go any further, I got a bit of a dry throat, so join me in the same time sip, which I didn't do earlier. It tastes better when we sip together. You all know I love Diet Coke. Also, shoot me a comment on what you think of my brand new winter sweater. Cheers. In 2005, Castor declined to prosecute Bill Cosby on charges that he sexually assaulted Andrea Constand, a former Temple University athletics official, at his Pennsylvania mansion. According to news reports, Castor said he made an agreement to grant Cosby immunity from prosecution in exchange for his testimony in a civil suit. The current district attorney, Kevin Steele, ran and won against Castor in 2015, in part by criticizing his handling of the case. Steele went on to successfully prosecute Cosby. In 2017, Castor unsuccessfully sued Constand for defamation, arguing that her comments about the Cosby case smeared his reputation and caused him to lose the race. Constand declined to comment. That's a lot of drama for a county district attorney race, but that is what it is. More recently, Castor has worked in private practice. He announced in December he was switching law firms, departing Rogers Castor to join Vanderveen O'Neill in Philadelphia. Castor told the legal publication Law 360 that money woes brought on by courtroom closures related to the coronavirus made the move necessary. I can relate to that. Bruce Marks, a GOP lawyer who has done work for the Trump campaign and has known Castor for decades, said Castor, with an opposing 6'3" frame, was widely seen as an excellent prosecutor with the exception of the fallout from the Cosby case. He was celebrated for successfully prosecuting several high-profile murder cases, including one in which the owner of the General Wayne Inn in Lower Merion, Pennsylvania, killed his partner to collect on an insurance policy. Bruce was an excellent district attorney. Not everybody likes everybody else. Okay, so what do I see here? Several things. The lawyers that Trump had prior, this Butch Bowers guy was from South Carolina, came from the recommendation of Lindsey Graham, and I looked over his resume. Attorney Bowers appears to be more of a government politics type lawyer with some civil rights and criminal background, though the number 2 guy that Trump had on the previous team was more of a federal criminal attorney. Okay, but the focus there, the leader of that team, Bowers, was not much of a criminal defense attorney. So, you all know I am a criminal defense attorney. Criminal defense attorneys, in my opinion, are some of the best trial lawyers out there. And that is because over and over and over again, criminal defense attorneys are going to face overwhelming odds, right? We are up against the United States government, the local state government, you name it, the machines of government, the police who are professional paid investigators and witnesses, and we have to learn to overcome astronomical odds, okay? And it takes a certain amount of, and I'm talking myself up, I'm talking the whole field up here, but it takes some guts and it takes some stamina, and you got to be able to put up with a lot and fight your face off. So it doesn't surprise me that Trump moved from sort of a medium, low-key, but very, very well-respected law firm to a couple of guys in Schoen and Castor who are a little more scrappy, street-fighting sort of criminal defense attorneys, right? That's just more of Donald Trump's style. So, it may be true that the reason he got rid of the Bowers team was because they wouldn't go at the election fraud claims that Trump wants to make. That may be true, but I also buy the story that there wasn't chemistry there, because we all know Donald Trump and we know his character, and he probably wants a legal team that are going to sort of go scorched earth, okay? And sometimes that's what criminal defense attorneys do. I mean, we have to pull out all the stops, right? Our clients' lives are on the line, right? Their freedom is on the line. So he picked a couple of guys here in Schoen and Castor that appear to be willing to go scorched earth, also willing to go on TV and fight in the court of public opinion as well, because that's likely something that Donald Trump wants. That low-key firm from South Carolina may be excellent lawyers and would probably do an excellent job at just putting on a great Senate case. But Trump may have been concerned about what their style would be when they're being interviewed and when they're on TV afterwards. He likes a certain type of aggressive, boasting sort of style. Those guys would probably be a bit more low-key. Maybe that's what he needs, but that's not what he wants. So I can see where he is going here. And personally, you know, I'm a big fan of criminal defense attorneys, obviously, and I like that he moved more in the criminal direction. Now, you may look at these two guys and say, oh, this Schoen, you know, he was meeting with Jeffrey Epstein and he represented mobsters. Well, listen, if he's working on that level, it means he knows what the heck he is doing. Okay, knows what the heck he is doing. And I've said this before, in my opinion, look, everybody defending the worst people in the country, okay, is perhaps the most important job that needs to be done to guarantee our constitutional rights and the rule of law in the United States of America. Because in this country, in our Constitution, what makes it great is that everybody has the right to aggressive and zealous representation, and that's actually what the courts require, what the Supreme Court of the United States requires. So the best attorneys, yeah, are usually the ones jumping out to defend maybe the worst people in society. And I know this sounds crazy and it's counterintuitive, but that is what preserves our rights for everyone. That is what preserves our rights for everyone. So attorneys will oftentimes go for high-profile cases. They can make their career, they can cut their teeth on it, and it's also a defense of the Constitution. I don't know how many of you watched The Night Stalker on Netflix. I recently watched it, and you saw the Night Stalker individual turned out to be a Latin American, and he was represented by two Latin American attorneys who hadn't done a lot of profile cases, never done a capital case where the defendant was facing the death penalty. And these guys jumped at the opportunity, and really it was a crazy long trial, okay? But that's our Constitution. That's the rule of law at work here. That's what separates the civilized countries from the non-civilized countries is you have a process, you have a law, and the law stays in place. So, this Schoen seems like a heavy hitter. He seems like a heavy hitter. He's represented individuals in the Russian mob. He was looking at Epstein. Now Schoen, sort of like Bowers, but Schoen was a mix of federal criminal defense and also civil rights. Which, again, on that Bowers, I think that government experience in the civil side would be very valuable. And I think the Trump defense is still getting a piece of that here with this Schoen. But Schoen's also a federal criminal defense attorney, which is the big time criminal defense. And, this guy, he's a heavy hitter. I looked him up. He went to Boston College Law, which is the 31st ranked law school in the United States, which is pretty good. He's a multi-state practitioner, and he does a whole lot of appeals work as well. So this seems like an incredibly well-rounded attorney with a lot of experience on high-profile cases. Then we have Bruce Castor, who appears to have a little bit more of controversy surrounding him, especially with the Cosby thing. I did a little reading up on the Cosby thing, and it said that he didn't pursue the case because he just didn't believe that he had enough evidence to get a conviction. Now, the subsequent prosecutor who stepped in, beat Castor in the election, prosecuted Cosby and won, proved that to be incorrect. But that Cosby trial, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't look at this, I think it mistrialed once and had to go to trial a second time, and on the second time they got the conviction. So if it mistrialed once, that means that there was significant doubt with the jury, and then the second time the jury did convict. So maybe there was something to what Castor said, but on a case like that, a high-profile case like that, with so many people, so many different victims, you would think a district attorney would go after that case. He tried to secure Cosby's testimony in a civil case. It's very sort of complicated. Look, sometimes district attorneys make the wrong calls. I don't know, I don't know what was going through this Castor guy's head. I'm just trying to prevent all sides of the story here. But Castor was an elected district attorney. Now he's in private practice. He's put a lot of murderers in jail as a prosecutor and a district attorney, prosecuted a lot of cases. Now he works on the defense side, appears to be a very scrappy, aggressive criminal defense attorney. And whether this is the right approach for Donald Trump, one thing you can say for sure is that this team fits his personality. I personally think that criminal defense attorneys with trial experience are sometimes some of the best attorneys in the world. Just again because they have to overcome overwhelming odds on a regular basis. All right, and I think Trump probably also pick these guys because they're going to be aggressive in the news. So that's something I want everybody to watch when there's interviews here, whether it's during the impeachment trial, before or after. Watch this Castor, watch this Schoen, see how their temperament is. They're probably pretty aggressive. That's probably one of the reasons that Trump chose them. I don't know if that's a good thing for him. Donald Trump may have actually benefited from a style like Bowers, who are low-key, focus on the law, beat them in court, okay, and let the other stuff take care of itself. That actually that would contrast with Trump's style, which may actually create a very nice mix. But we all know Donald Trump, he's sort of a maximum pressure type guy. So that's what you're seeing here in his choice of attorneys. Castor went to Washington and Lee, also a highly ranked law school. I'm not saying law school means anything, but I'm always looking at where someone went to law school. Okay, I went to Duquesne here in Pittsburgh, which I think is one of the best universities in the country. It's not as highly ranked as these schools, but I'll tell you, I put it up against these schools any day of the week. So those are the choices that Donald Trump is going with. Very interesting. Keep all of these things in mind that you learned if you watch the impeachment trial or you watch these guys giving interviews before or after. I find it fascinating what his choice was here. So I hope you enjoyed my insight and analysis. I hope you also liked my sweater. If you like my content, like, subscribe, comment, and share. Joe Pometto, Joe the Lawyer, get me those subscriptions. Get me to 1,000, please. Love you guys. Peace out.